paduputro dadarshantakamágatam mrittormurdhni padam datya arurohadbhutam griham. Taduttano padoputro dadarshantakamágatam mrittormurdhni padam datya arurohadbhutam griham. Taduttano padoputro darshantakamagatam mritturmurdhni padam datya arurohadbhutam griham. Taduttano padoputro Dadarshan Aruraha got up, Adbhutam, wonderful, Griham, on the airplane, which resembled a big house. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. When Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approach him. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death. And thus he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Please repeat after me. When Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw death personified approach him. Not caring for death, however, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of death. And thus he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To take the passing away of devotee and the passing away of a non-devotee as one and the same is completely misleading. While ascending the transcendental airplane, Dhruva Maharaj suddenly saw death personified before him. But he was not afraid. Instead of death's giving him trouble, Dhruva Maharaj took advantage of death's presence and put his feet on the head of death. People with a poor fund of knowledge do not know the difference between the death of a devotee and the death of a non-devotee. In this connection, an example can be given. A cat carries its kittens in its mouth, and it also catches a rat in its mouth. Superficially, the catching of the rat and the kitten appear to be one and the same, but actually they are not. When the cat catches the rat in its mouth, it means death for the rat. Whereas when the cat catches the kitten enjoys it. When Dhruva Maharaj boarded the airplane, he took advantage of the arrival of death personified, who came to him. He came to offer him obeisances. Putting his feet on the head of death, he got up on the unique airplane, which is described here as big as a house, Griham. There are many other similar instances in Bhagavad literature. It is stated that when Kardama Muni created an airplane to carry his wife, Devahuti, all over the universe, the airplane was like a big city carrying many houses, lakes and gardens. Modern scientists have manufactured big aeroplanes, but they are packed with passengers who experience all sorts of discomforts while riding in them. Material scientists are not even perfect in manufacturing a material airplane. In order to compare to the plane used by Kardama or the plane sent from Vishnuloka, they must manufacture an airplane equipped like a big city with all the comforts of life, lakes, gardens, parks, etc. Their plane must be able to fly in outer space and hover and visit all other planets. If they invent such a plane, they will not have to make different space stations for fuel to travel into outer space. Such a plane would have an unlimited supply of fuel, or like the plane from Vishnuloka, would fly without it. So, yesterday we discussed about Bhishma Dev's passing away, how he left his body looking at Krishna. And today we have selected this verse which has a similar connotation, passing away of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was a great devotee, and his life is very illustrious. To begin with, he is the great-grandson of Lord Brahma. Brahma's son is Swayambhuva Manu, and it has been described that Swayambhuva Manu was actually an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Swayambhuva Manu's two sons were Priyavrata and Uttanapad. And Uttanapad had two sons. And Uttanapad had two wives. And through his two wives, he had two sons, Dhruva and Uttam. His two wives were Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi, the younger wife, was very dear to the king, and as a result of that, the king neglected his elder wife. And Suniti, Dhruva's mother. And Suniti, one day, Suruchi's son was sitting on his father's lap, and his father was caressing him, patting him. So Dhruva also became naturally inclined to have the same situation. So he wanted to climb up on his father's lap. But his mother, stepmother, insulted him, saying that unless and until he is born out of her womb, he would not have that good fortune of ascending the throne or even sit on his father's lap. And Dhruva was only 5 years old at that time. And Dhruva was naturally insulted when his mother said that if you want to have this good fortune, then you have to perform great austerities to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you succeed in doing that, then in your next life you'll be born in my womb. And then only you'll be able to become qualified to sit on his father's lap. Narad Muni later on mentioned that how wonderful is the spirit of the Kshatriyas. Just a 5-year-old boy, just these words penetrated his heart so badly. And especially when he saw that his father did not protest. His stepmother was speaking to him like that, and his father didn't protest. So he left the place. He went to his mother, hissing like a wounded snake out of anger. And his mother also became very upset when she heard. At that time, although she was very angry, here we can see the nature of a pious person, a good person. What did his mother say? Mother said that even though you are hurt, don't expect any inauspicious thing to that person. Because when you hurt others, that pain will come back to you. Another consideration of karmic reactions. When you hurt others, you will feel the pain yourself. You will get back. It will come back to you. That is why in the Vaishnava community it has been very, very much advised that don't hurt others, don't speak bad about others, don't criticize others, unless it's for the sake of educating that person. Because if you speak bad about others, then those bad qualities will come back to you. You will you will get those bad qualities. But Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, gave him the advice that, look, what your mother said, what your stepmother said is true. In a situation like this, no one other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead can help you. So yes, go take shelter of him. So what a brave mother giving such an advice. Okay, take to devotional service. And at that time to take to devotional service would have meant leaving home, going to the forest. And that 5-year-old boy did that. He left home, went to the forest, infested with all kinds of ferocious animals. But he was fearless. And that's another thing. Although this child is roaming in the forest searching for Vishnu, searching for Krishna, the animals didn't hurt him. The animals also, because the animals also have the super soul in the heart, in their hearts. The super soul directed them not to hurt this boy, not to harm this boy. And at that time, very fortunately, Narad Muni came there, seeing Dhruva's condition. And he advised him that it's very difficult, this process of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead by means of Ashtanga Yoga is a very, very difficult process. It takes life after life. And even then people cannot become successful. And you are just a 5-year-old boy, you're like little boy. So don't try to pursue that course. Go home. When you grow up, and then probably you can try that. But Dhruva was determined, no, I'm not going home. I have come here with a purpose, I'm going to fulfill that purpose. And seeing Dhruva's condition, Dhruva's determination, Narad Muni now took pity upon him. And he instructed him how to perform Ashtanga Yoga, how to control the breathing after sitting in asana, proper sitting posture. And by controlling the breathing, one controls his mind and senses, and then one can focus his attention. Consciousness can be focused onto the heart where the Lord is situated, and that is how one can actually perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he gave the mantra, the 12-syllable mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Dhruva started to perform. This very, very severe austerity. Eating only dry leaves. Then he stopped eating. Just taking some water only after so many days. And then he stopped eating, and then stopped drinking water. Just taking his breath once in a while. And then he stopped breathing. So that is actually the purpose of pranayam. Nowadays people are performing in the name of yoga, asana, and sometimes they perform pranayam. The pranayam, as it has been mentioned, it has three aspects. Inhaling, retaining, exhaling. Inhale, they retain the breath. Kumbhaka, Rechaka, Puraka and Kumbhaka. Exhaling, Rechaka, Puraka, inhaling and Kumbhaka, retaining. And so retaining aspect is the main aspect of pranayama. A yogi stops to breathe. And even nowadays we can see, how many of you have been to Kumbh Mela? Okay, in Kumbh Mela, you see these yogis. They lock themselves up in a trunk. The trunk is buried underground. And after a long time, sometimes after a day or two, they open the trunk and they bring it up. And the Kumbh Mela, I was there in, that time it was in Haridwar, and there was a Japanese lady who mastered that art. She was a disciple of one Pilot Baba. The person used to be an airlines pilot before, and then he became a yogi. So that's why his name is Pilot Baba. And she was his disciple, and she did that. She was doing that, and it was one of the biggest attraction in Kumbh Mela that year. So this is how it's possible. Like one can, and in India, it sometimes is such a common thing. Long time back, I remember in Calcutta, once I came out near the bus stop, near our house, we saw there was a big crowd. And when I came there, I found that someone buried himself and only his legs are sticking out. The whole body is buried underground. And from the shape of the feet, I could see it was a young boy. It was quite a young boy. Anyway, there was a big crowd, watching. Then I took the bus, I went to wherever I had to go. When I came back, after a few hours, I saw the same, crowd there also. And I saw the same situation, that he is still there underground like that. So there are certain ways of controlling the breathing. And a yogi, a perfect yogi, will stop breathing, as Dhruva Maharaj did. Stop breathing altogether. And as a result of that, such a heat that was generated that it reached even the heavenly planets. And the demigods were perturbed. And they approached the Supreme Lord. That such a heat, we don't know what's happening. And he said it's because Dhruva is performing his austerity. He stopped breathing, and as a result of that, not the heat. They couldn't breathe. There was no way they could breathe. And because Dhruva stopped breathing, the breathing of the universe stopped. So then the Lord came and blessed in order to bless Dhruva. And he told him that you will go back, now you go back to your father's house. And in the meantime, his father became very repentant when he heard that little boy left home. And he was worried. He has gone to the forest. Who knows what could have happened to him? But at that time, Narad Muni came and informed him, don't worry, your son is okay. And so this is how his father's attitude changed. And so the Lord told him that you go back to your father's palace, and in course of time your father will retire from his kingdom and he will go to the forest, and at that time you will become the king. And in this way the Lord told him what he would do, what will happen to him. And he also told him that eventually at the end of his life, after ruling over this universe, not just Earth planet, after ruling for 36,000 years, he will rule over, actually, this island, not universe, Jambuddeep, which is actually the Earth planet, surrounded by saltwater ocean. He will be elevated. He will leave after 36 years of ruling over this planet, he would leave this world, and then he will get a place which is even beyond the super constellation. In Sanskrit it is called Shaptarshi Mandal, the abode of 7 sages. Those 7 great sages, Pulasta, Pulaha, Kratu, Angira, Vasishta. So these 7 sages, how many of you have seen super constellation, the 7 stars? That looks like a question mark, very prominent in the sky. And from the upper 2 stars, if you draw a line, it goes to 1 star. And that is the North Star. But that is called Dhruva star. And that star is constant. All the other stars are moving, but that star is constant. That is the place, that is the abode that Dhruva Maharaj got. That is the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he blessed him that he'll come back to my abode. And he'll not go back to the material nature again. Jad gatvana nivartante stadhama paramam. So in this way, Dhruva Maharaj was blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he came back home. His father was very, very happy. He fell at his mother's feet, stepmother's feet. And already his stepmother Suruchi, was lamenting. But now as Dhruva fell, she was completely overwhelmed with emotions. He embraced the child and begged forgiveness for her rude behavior. So this is how Dhruva Maharaj returned home. Then his father left the kingdom and he became the king. He got married to 2 wives. One was Shishumar. That's also another planetary system, Shishumar. And the daughter of Shishumar, the great sage, great personality, he got married to his daughter, and the other one was Ila, who was the daughter of Vayu, the Pavandev. And Uttam was not married. One day he went out hunting and some Jaksha killed him. His mother was so heartbroken that she ran into the forest in search of her son, and she was engulfed by a forest fire. So Suruchi left her body. Dhruva became so angry that he got up on his chariot, took his bow and arrow, and attacked the Jakshas. The kingdom of Kuvera is Alokapuri, another very, very opulent celestial planet. So he went there and he blew his conch shell, challenging the Dakshas, come out, we'll fight alone. So this is how brave and chivalrous and skilled these warriors used to be. Single-handedly they could take over the entire army. I mean, how they do that we can't imagine. But then again, when you look at from another point of view, like say when there are millions of ants, is it difficult for one person to crush them all? So these personalities become elevated to such a height that they can deal with thousands of warriors even. So he blew his conch shell, challenging the Jakshas. The Jakshas also enraged with this challenge, they came out. And Dhruva Maharaj started to wipe them out. But then the Jakshas took some illusory trick on him, and all kinds of illusory appearances tried to frighten Dhruva Maharaj. And he was bewildered, like all kinds of things are happening. So the mountains like rocks falling on him, huge serpents coming to devour him. And so for a moment Dhruva Maharaj became little bewildered. But then the sages took pity upon him. They came and said, don't be afraid, this is just illusion. You take the Narayanastra. And as being instructed by the sages, as Dhruva pulled out the bow of Narayan, then all the illusion disappeared and he started to wipe out all the Jakshas. His grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, came there and advised him, Dhruva, whatever happens in this material nature is a result of one's karma. Happiness and distress, misfortune or good fortune, they all are actually the results of karma. This is a result of, he actually used the word, is due to time, inconceivable time. And whatever has to happen, you can't really. Rather, you can consider that, these actions or these results are actually the results of your previous acts. And do not become affected by that. Don't kill these innocent Jakshas. They didn't do anything to you. Your brother was killed by some Jaksha. But not all the Jakshas should be responsible for that. So this is how he prevented, Swayambhuva Manu prevented Dhruva Maharaj from annihilating all the Jakshas. Then Kubera, the king of the Jakshas, came, and he also gave some very good advice to Dhruva Maharaj, that you are such a great devotee of the Lord. At the age of 5, you achieved such a amazing spiritual fit. So, and he blessed him, rewarded him in a wonderful way. So in this way Dhruva Maharaj actually reigned for 36,000 years, and then he also retired. This is the thing about the Vedic culture. At some point, No matter how opulent the person is, how responsible he is, how, he leaves home and goes to the forest. So Dhruva Maharaj left home and went to Badarikashram. So this is the indication that Vedic culture gives the informations about a higher reality. Therefore, one can give up this lower material involvement. There is a goal of life which is higher than sense gratification. They accept the responsibilities with a sense of duty. Therefore, they are called Rajarshis. They are actually saints or rishis, but they have assumed the role of a king to guide mankind. Rajarshis. Imam Rajarshayo Vidu. Krishna is telling that this transcendental knowledge was flowing. Generally it flows through the saintly kings. He is Imam Vivashyate Yogam Praktavan Aham Abhayam Vivashwan Manave Prahu. So it's the same line that he is talking about. Vivashwan told his son Manu. This another Manu, Vaivashyata Manu. But this is Swayambhuva Manu, Brahma's son, who was Manu. But this way we can see that the people, those who take responsible positions in the human society, must be properly equipped with transcendental knowledge. Otherwise, how can they lead? They'll simply end up misleading. And that's what is happening in today's world. So-called leaders, instead of leading mankind, they're misleading mankind, setting such bad examples everywhere. And their whole purpose, to get a position, to acquire material benefits. They want to become leaders to exhort or to exploit people to get some material opulence and material benefits. But the Vedic time, Vedic kings, they were not like that. They took it up as a responsibility. They would rather not have that position. Because they know the real feature of this material nature. It's a place of suffering. Like there is no enjoyment in this material nature. Not that you get a big position to get greater enjoyment. To begin with, there is no enjoyment. It's all illusory. Phantasmagoria or mirage. A thirsty traveler, can he quench his thirst running after a mirage? No. Similarly, our thirst for enjoyment cannot be quenched by sense gratification. Because it's not there. The sense gratification doesn't lead to enjoyment, but sense gratification leads to suffering. So, they knew, people, especially learned individuals, those who have been properly trained by bona fide spiritual masters, they're perfectly situated in that knowledge and they used to lead their lives accordingly. So Dhruva Maharaj, although he was the ruler of the entire earth planet, including the oceans, he left this planet. He left his kingdom, went to Badarikashram, and there he absorbed his mind in thinking about and serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then in due course of time, as we are seeing here, the chariot came from the heavenly planet. and from the spiritual world, with two Vishnu Dutas, Nanda and Sunanda. And they told, the Lord has sent you this chariot to go back to Godhead. And then Dhruva Maharaj went to bath to get purified, said goodbye to all the sages there with whom he had developed relationship. And then he came to the chariot, circumambulated it. And then as he was approaching, about to get up onto the chariot, death came. Personified death. And Dhruva Maharaj took advantage of his appearance, put his feet on his head, stepped into the chariot. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. The death for a devotee and death for a non-devotee are not the same thing. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example in that respect, that a cat carrying the kitten. Have you seen how a cat carries a kitten? With his sharp teeth, grabs him by its neck, back of the neck. That's how a cat actually kills a rat or other animals, or lions, or like the same family. The members of the same family have the same technique. They get the animal by the neck and give a jerk, and that actually breaks the spine. So a cat, when it catches a rat by its sharp teeth at the back of his neck, that means the death of the rat. End of the rat. Whereas when the cat carries the kitten is not afraid, because the kitten knows that although the mother is biting him at the back of his neck with his sharp teeth, the mother is actually carrying him to safety. So that is the difference between the death for a non-devotee and a devotee. For a devotee, death comes as an opportunity to go back to the spiritual world. That is called Vastu Siddhi. When one achieves perfection while in this body, spiritual perfection, that's called Sarup Siddhi. One becomes situated in his Sarup, spiritual identity. He has the body, he remains in the body, because the body is a gift of Mother Nature. So, pure spirit soul in this material body. That's a pure devotee. But then, when the time comes for him to leave his body, then he goes back to the spiritual world, and that is called Vastu Siddhi. And the spiritual being that he is, now he is situated in his perfect spiritual identity. So this is how we can see how Dhruva Maharaj went back to the spiritual sky. Dhruva Loka. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Does anybody have any question? Yes. Dhruva Loka is spiritual world. In the material nature also the Lord has his place, like in the milk ocean he has his abode, Shweta Deep. That's the spiritual world. Because there's no difference, although apparently it is in the material nature, But that's the abode of the Lord. Dhruva Loka is the Lord's abode. And that's the center of the universe. All the planetary systems are rotating around Dhruva Loka. Yes? Take the mic. Huh?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. The question is, if Dhruva Loka is spiritual abode, we hear in spiritual abodes or spiritual world, the bodies are eternal and people live there forever and there is no coming back. So I'm slightly confused about what does death mean for Dhruva Maharaj, who ruled it for 36,000 years.
That was before he went to Dhruva Loka.
Oh. So
when he was here, on Badarik Ashram,
okay,
after he retired from his royal responsibilities, he was there. Then the chariot came to take him to Dhruva Loka.
Thank you, Maharaj, for clarity.
Which has been described as even beyond Saptarshi Mandala. The abode of the seven sages. It's beyond material nature. And the material nature, the universe, is revolving around that Dhruva Loka or North Star. That doesn't move. That's constant.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
So Maharaj, how do we exactly explain to like an outsider on how sense gratification leads to suffering? If you had to explain it practically.
How to convince them?
Yes, Maharaj.
Well, you see, the point is the proper information. The information means knowledge, right? When you when you have the information, you know. Now there can be knowledge from two sides. One is knowledge acquired by our physical endeavor through our senses, and another kind of knowledge is coming from the higher source. So these informations we are getting from the higher source. Say for example, you are just a little boy, young boy. You have hardly gone through your life, but you know, right, that material nature is a place of suffering. How do you know that? Because you got the information from the higher source and you have accepted it. And in course of time, as you go through your life, you will see how true that information is, right? So what they actually have to understand, the importance of receiving knowledge from proper source or proper authority. Like experimentally we cannot always verify everything, right? Say for example, when you go to study something, say you are studying geography, you are sitting in the class, the book is saying, the teacher is explaining that there are so many continents, in the so many continents there are so many countries, there are so many cities. Although you haven't gone to see, you haven't seen those countries, you haven't seen those continents, but you know, right? Why? Because you got the knowledge got the information from an authoritative source. So that's what they have to first accept. And at the most you can tell him, okay, go through your life, right? Try to enjoy. And after 10 years you come back to me and tell me what happened, right? If they want everything to be experimentally verified, then go ahead and go through your life and see whether it's true or not, right? But I have accepted, you can say, I have accepted the information from the higher source. And I have seen, my father has accepted it, my other devotees in our institution have accepted it. So so I have accepted it. Now, why don't you give it a try at least? Like, find out, it's not that there is no enjoyment. There is real enjoyment, but you have to know how to actually experience that enjoyment. That enjoyment is spiritual enjoyment. The enjoyment, the joy that fills your heart. Not the gratification of the senses, but a joy that fills your heart. And as a result of that, when you experience that, sense enjoyment becomes totally meaningless. Okay?
Dandavas Maharaj. So thank you for coming to Harulas Prabhu's city preaching program yesterday. It was very good to have you there. So as you see, we are trying a lot of novel techniques, such as the food truck and giving prasadam on the streets and distributing books. But it seems to be a very uphill task. Even after prasadam and books, thousands of books have gone out. Tens of thousands of plates of prasadam have gone out. But result seems to be very difficult. Somehow or the other we got in, but to bring other people in seems to be a big challenge.
Yeah. So our way is keep on rendering service, but don't worry about the result. Look at Prabhupada's life. Like 41 years of struggle. Right? From 1920, 44 years actually. In 1922, he met his spiritual master. And since then, he had been trying and trying and trying to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master. And then, at the age of 66, he started to get some result. Right? So similarly, we have to keep on endeavoring, as you are saying, various ways to distribute this knowledge, distribute this, create the attraction. And Krishna has his way of doing things. Maybe Krishna is preparing us through all these endeavors. And then someday you'll see that thousands of people are coming. Now, if you don't do that, if you didn't do that, when thousands of people came, how would you have dealt with them? Now you are actually learning. Now you are creating the atmosphere where you can have thousands of devotees to deal with thousands of individuals to make them into devotees. You get it? Doesn't matter, they are not coming. Who knows? If you look at the lives of devotees, you'll see that in an incredible way, amazing way, they have become devotees. Right? Like, there's no way of knowing. Like, so many times we come across at least one person that is very vivid in my mind. He's a retired Frenchman, sick, around 70 years old. He had a Bhagavad Gita. Somehow, he doesn't even remember where he got it. It had been sitting on his shelf. Then he became bedridden with some back problem. All he could do is read books. And one day he just happened to start reading Bhagavad Gita. And it transformed his whole life. He became, at the age of 73, he became a devotee. And eventually he became a sannyasi. Like, Krishna made arrangement that he became bedridden. And otherwise probably he would never have touched that book. Started to read the book, and as he started to read the book, it worked on him. Didn't Prabhupada say these books are the time bombs? We are planting these books in different houses, in different areas. At some point they'll explode. And that will be the end of their materialistic way of life. Some prasad, they'll work, you know. I mean, on many of those people that I met yesterday, I mean, I found them to be very favorable. Maybe they still have to go through some phase of their life in order to take to Krishna consciousness. But, you know, we are ready, we are waiting. Our doors are open. Come whenever you feel that you are ready to enter into this domain. And thank you very much for so nicely executing this wonderful responsibility.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So,
Hare Krishna Maharaj. One question is Dhruva Maharaj is a Dhyana yogi who took to Vishnu, and that's why it's called Bhakta. Sometimes we call him like a greatest devotee, right? But he actually followed his Dhyana yoga.
yeah, actually, I mean, if you look at it, initially Dhruva Maharaj was a Karma Mishra Bhakti. He wanted some material benefit and he rendered devotional service. But then eventually he became pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj is undoubtedly a pure devotee. How one begins, that doesn't really matter. How one ends, that's what really matters. Maybe you can take the last question.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, quickly, I have just 3 questions.
3 questions?
Yes.
Okay.
From the translation of the verse, we said that Dhruva Maharaj saw the death personified. So is it Yamraj? That's what he saw?
Death is another person.
Another person.
Mrityu.
So that means every devotee, if they will see the Vishnu Dutas, they will also see the death personified. That means.
Death personifies means, you know, the time will come when one will have to die, that is, leave this material body. And at that time, you know, he'll have to encounter with that personality, but that personality won't come in a frightening way.
Okay.
He will come. He will come with folded hands, seek for the blessings of the devotees, as he did in the case of Dhruva Maharaj. He came with folded hands to seek his blessings. And Dhruva Maharaj blessed him by putting his feet on his head.
Okay, thank you. Second is related to Damodar Prasad Prabhu's question. I heard today this description, what you said. I had how to place the question. So when the Dhruva Maharaj attained perfection, was it due to the mercy of Narad Muni which he received through the mantra, or after seeing the Lord? When he saw the 4-armed Lord, that is time he became a pure devotee, or it's only because of the mantra?
You see, when he met Narad Muni, received the mantra, that was his initiation.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of his spiritual life. Then he practiced the process. And after practicing the process, he achieved perfection.
Because we hear all the time that the Dhruva Maharaj prays after seeing the 4-armed Lord, that what I was praying, that was just a broken piece of glasses. So it's...
That is the realization that he got at that time. That's he's speaking about his realization. I started off, I came to take shelter of you, wanting to get some broken pieces of glasses, but now I am seeing that you're offering me diamonds. So why should I waste my time with those broken pieces that can simply cut my hands? Right? So I'm not interested in that anymore. But then the Lord pointed out, no, you have to do that with a sense of responsibility. There's a need for kings like you. There's a need for leaders like you. That's why you have to take the responsibility. Oh, quickly. Well, try to rectify him if he's close enough, if he or she is close enough. then advise him. And still, if you cannot do that, then ask the higher the more advanced devotees to help that person out. But if if that person's association can be harmful, then it is better to avoid. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.